Okay, let me introduce today's two very special guests. From the Sydney Kings, longtime NBL assistant coach and former head coach in the NBL, Matt Flinn, and veteran NBL combo guard for the now Sydney Kings, Shaun Bruce. Shaun is about to start his 10th season in the NBL for the Sydney Kings. Thanks for joining us today. Let's now cross it over to Matt and Shaun to tell us all about what's going on in the land of the Kings in today's session. I hope you enjoy.
Awesome, guys. Look, it's a real pleasure to be here. And I've coached against Shaun for a number of years in the NBL, both as an assistant and in my 1 year as a head coach. And, you know, I've got many memories of him destroying some of my scouts and some of the plans I put in place. But I guess today what we're going to do is a few things. As Adam said, if you've got any questions as we go through, please just write it in the chat. And some of the New South Wales basketball staff, they will read those out. And in particular with Shaun, what I'm going to do is throw to Shaun for a little bit. And then come back to me. We'll both explain what our basketball journey has looked like from here. And then we're going to give you a little bit of a unique insight today into a few different elite concepts. But what I really want to try and do is, although we're going to watch Shaun Bruce at his best in some of these clips, what I want to do is really draw back to you some of the real fundamental skills that you're going to notice in this film and how they apply to you now and what you're working on. We call these building blocks. So all your coaches around New South Wales, and they do a fantastic job. What I really should encourage you to do is text your coaches and just every now and then do a little random act of kindness to your coaches, because they do invest a lot in you. And what we're going to do is try and look at some of the fundamental skills that Shaun applies on the floor at an elite level, but how they actually, you're always working on them, you know, every day. We call these our building blocks, our staples. We take our vitamins every day. But over to you, Shaun, just to give you a little bit about your journey and where you come from, mate, and where you are and where you want to be.
Yeah. So, hey, guys, thanks, everyone, for having me and everyone who organised this. It's a great initiative. Yeah, I'm Shaun. I grew up in country Victoria in a small town called Horsham. So shout out to everyone here that's checked in from the country. Grew up playing in state teams and things like that. So I had a lot of great battles with the New South Wales country teams at Country Cup and then New South Wales Metro at Nationals. So come through the junior ranks playing for Horsham. Then from there, I moved down to Ballarat and played NBL 1, what it is now. Started there with the Ballarat Miners. And then from there was lucky to earn a development spot originally with the Cairns Taipans. That was my first step into the NBL, and I got a chance just to be a part of their practice team and an opportunity to train with the team. And then from then on, I just got more and more opportunity from that and was really lucky to earn a contract originally with them. And then from there, just build that into what's now been 10 years in the NBL. So really grateful for each step I've had to take, whether it was making those state teams for Vic Country, making a name for myself in the state leagues, in the NBL 1, but then to take it up to the NBL and earn everything from there was the steps I took. Little different. Obviously, a lot of kids, they either go to college in the States or they go through the Institute of Sport. And I never had those opportunities. So I had to go kind of a different route to get to where I wanted to go. But it's a little different, but something I'm really proud of.
Mate, that's awesome. You know, and when I look at my own journey as well, there's a certain synergy here. And I feel at times I know that and we can get into that later. So for everyone watching, we're going to have some time at the end where we'll answer some of these Q&As. But I do know there was times when Shaun had reached the top and then also didn't quite have a job in the NBL, and there's a tough time. And, we talk about resiliency as an athlete and how you cope with that, and you always stay with your goal on where you want to be. And I certainly know through my experience coaching against you, how that transpired, and credit to you, mate, and where you are now. And I think, the best is around the corner, to be honest. For me, my journey, and for everyone listening out there, was pretty similar. Like I didn't make a state team till under 18s. I was one of those kids who I just loved the game so much, but it was always in like the Division 2, the Division 3 team, particularly at a young age. But I guess the non-negotiables for me were really intrinsic motivation. Like I didn't play the sport or try and develop the sport for myself. I just loved every single day trying to make myself better. And that drive certainly came from within. It didn't come from an external coach or anything like that. I just wanted to really be the best I could be. I started at Illawarra and had a long journey through that club. And, obviously if I've got some advice for anyone out there who thinks that they might not be in that top echelon of elite kids at their age, this is a long journey, right? So you got to stay with the course and stay with the journey as you're going through. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to share the screen here, and we're going to look through some clips of Shaun playing last year against Melbourne United. This game went into double overtime. We got 15 clips to show you. Hopefully we don't run out of time. My role as a coach in the NBL was around video analysis and performance. What we're going to do though is we're going to get Shaun to jump in and just see what he sees. And, there will be a little emphasis around point guard skills here and shooting guard skills. But at the same time, what I attempt to do is also highlight some of the bigs, right? So, what point guards look for with bigs, and how bigs look after point guards, and how point guards look after bigs and feed the fish at times. So let me just share my screen for you guys. Here we go. I'm on. All right. I'll just turn the sound off. All right, first clip we're looking at. So what we're looking at here is what we call as a pocket pass. So middle on ball. I'm going to show the clip first and then we'll rewind it. So that's what we call in, and your coaches might have talked to you about this, but a pocket pass. But what I really want to do is try and look at the actual technique of Shaun when we do this. So when we screen, Shaun's coming off this, but the delivery of the pocket pass is crucial. And there's two phases to this. The first one is the bounce pass. So Xavier doesn't even have to, he can maintain his same stride. And this is called a short roll. We call this a short roll. But if you look at Shaun and his balance, when he stops with both feet and his eyes are on the target, and then Xav can maintain his rhythm. Shaun, you want to jump in and add anything to that?
Yeah, so what I'm seeing here as a player is something I check. I'm in a lot of on-ball screens like this. So the first thing I check is who's in it with me. And if any of you know, Xavier's a really dynamic player if you can get him going downhill. So it was an easy decision to make here. I come off, there's a little pocket where I can get him the ball. Yeah, this one opened up. It's a bounce pass, but I know Xavier Cooks, me, I'm going to get him the ball because I know this is a position he loves. And yeah, he's really dynamic. So I'm playing with great players. My job as a point guard to get it to those guys. So that's where I'm at with that one.
That's a great point, mate. And then that little sneaky bump to Goulding there.
Yeah, I mean, that probably comes up a bit in this game. We tend to run into each other quite a bit. I'll say it's by accident.
Hey, we compete for fun, right?
That's right.
All right, let's go clip 2. And just before we go in through these clips, guys, what I really want to emphasize with you is be a student of the game. Like, that's really important. Like get your notebook out. What our journey today through this next 30 minutes, if we can, is to try and ignite your own thinking. And these skills, right? So everything we're going to show you today, they're at the same at the level you're playing at. I don't care if you're playing at, Division 3 in a local comp, or right through to, you're an elite member of the state team. These concepts stay the same, but as the level goes up, so does the speed. All right, this one's middle on ball again, Brucey.
Yeah, so exact same action. Obviously got the big guy looping underneath as well. So once again, I've got a really dynamic teammate, really good player in Jarrell Martin. And in this clip, he's being guarded by a first-year player, a development player. So I'm coming off and I'm seeing he's probably not that open, but I need to get him the ball, and he's right under the bucket. So I really don't use the screen that well because I've made up in my mind that's where I'm going. It's a really good matchup for us. Obviously, if you keep it going, Jarrell, if you can get him the ball down there, he's gonna find a way to get you a bucket. So that's my thinking on that one.
For me, that clip was awesome because a lot of a good point guard skill is reading the defense. So, and I've got a clip later that we're going to see is where you see Shaun not watching his own teammate, but you watch him seeing the defender. And that's really hard to do, but it's critical to be a great point guard. All right. This is for you bigs out there. So you bigs out there, and by the way, can I give a shout out to Xander? There's a Xander who turns 13 in a few weeks. I know he's a massive Kings fan and he's always at stuff. So happy birthday, bro, for a couple of weeks. But when you're a big, what you need to do is establish good position and contact, right? And as a point guard or as a feeder or at the shooting guard spot, what we're all about here is throwing out to a space. Now you can see Xavier again gives a good target to throw to. Now, importantly as well, you see what Shaun does here. He doesn't stand still. Is that right? So you feed the post.
That's it. And to be honest, to put it into context, I was 0 of 7 to start this game. So they were digging even more on me. So I had to move more and keep them honest. Yeah, as you can see, my man Goulding's not really worried about me. He's going to help in on Xavier, who's obviously a tough matchup down there.
And you know what? And that's a great segue because you just to put that comment, Shaun, is awesome because I was at this game and this is a great example of this game. If you guys can go and find this game somewhere and watch it in its entirety, it's a great example of how you let the game come to you because you're right. You didn't score till the second half, if I'm correct.
That's it, yeah.
But you let it come to you. All right, let's talk a little bit now about playing off the ball. I'll show the clip. All right, so when we're playing off the ball here, one of the important things is to get into the line of sight of the big. So if Shaun, and I see this a lot in juniors, they get told to go and stand in the corner. So that's what they do. All right. But importantly, when you're playing is sometimes you need to break out and get into the line of sight to help your teammate, which is exactly what you do right here. And if anyone's out there have noticed the defensive side of things, again, I'll reiterate with Shaun what he just said. Chris Goulding is more concerned about the double team. So he jumps in to pinch in on Geordie Hunter. And we're going to see Geordie Hunter in clip 15. What a great teammate he is. But he seals Chris and then Shaun gets into the line of sight. I'm going to talk to you about shooting in a minute, Shaun.
Yeah, just to touch on that, Flinny, you're saying line of sight, like something you'll hear a lot if you come to our trainings is coaches saying find the window, and where that window is just wherever your offensive teammate can see you. It's not as traditional as getting to a corner or a certain position. It's the window can change all the time. So that clip kind of shows that, like, our spacing is get to the corner, but the corner's no good if you've got defenders standing in front of you. You got to sometimes find a little window, which is sliding up a bit higher.
Awesome, mate. Great point. And we never get sick of watching that, right?
That's it, man. Keep it running.
All right. Let's talk about transition. All right. So the game of basketball for me really is divided into transition, catch and shoot, and the pick and roll at the offensive end. All right. So we spend as guards a lot of time in transition. Everyone out there watching, I want you to watch this skill, and I want you to see and tell or think to yourself, you can't tell me, do you do this skill? Now that right there, for me, this is a simple skill that your coaches get to do every day. But the important thing here is Shaun gets himself into, so I divide sometimes the court into 3/3. Now Shaun gets himself into the middle third. All right. So what this is going to do is we're going to make Jock Landale bite. All right. So again, watch Jock Landale. Now he bites. Now this is called what I call a Nash dribble. So a Nash dribble for all you guards out there, start practicing this dribble. Don't be afraid to explore and get yourself into a position where you're under the basket, because normally what happens when you cross this lane line, everyone stands up and stands still. So if you watch again, old rookie here, he's standing up, standing still, sort of not used to this action, and then great job keeping it alive.
Yeah, that's something plenty I've had to definitely develop in the last couple of years. I think early in my career, I either would have forced a contested layup there or maybe kicked it out early. But yeah, watching more film and having coaches really talk to me more about that, it's something that I've had to develop and to keep the dribble alive and to get comfortable in a crowd down there. So yeah, for the juniors that are watching, it's definitely a valuable tool.
Mate, great point. And yeah, it is. That's experience, you know. But the great things about these Zooms, what we do now is, now that you get that knowledge, it's up to you guys watching this. You go out now, you take that, you practice it. You practice the Nash dribble, both hands, work left and right dexterity, right? Let's just watch this defense. Is that a flop? No.
I'm looking right at the ref. I think
he's looking straight at the referee here. You know, hey, work the officials at times, kids. Don't be afraid to do it, right? But the great thing about this play for me was hands don't reach. Now, a lot of people right here have a tendency to slap down at the ball. I certainly did when I played, right? But this is a disciplined play right here. Keep your hands high and form that. It's really tough for Shaylee to finish over that target. Doesn't hurt to look at the ref every now and then. This is the role that Scotty Hobson was brought in to do. Not necessarily off the bench. All right. What are your thoughts here? What's your thought process? Because I got some good comments on this.
Yeah, sorry, I got some noise coming in. But yeah, if we showed the first half, like I said, I think I'm 0-7. This might be my first bucket, but I was doing a lot at the rim and forcing it against some pretty big guys, whether it's Jock or Joe Akul. It's long and some length down there. So I probably forced a little in the first half. And this one, I've obviously got the big fella on a reversal and looking to attack him. But I know he's going to try to play me at the rim and probably force me to take a jump shot. So I had to just be ready to shoot these come
I
second
think
half.
for every kid out there, you get thrown the ball at the top of the key in a lot of drills in training. So this is where you need to start to work and operate. And particularly if you watch the spacing here, this is a really good spacing. So now you got a chance to really go and play. And the pull-up Jimmy is not dead. I'm going to talk about your shooting technique in a minute. All right. Sorry, guys. I'm working out of a quick time player. Okay, let's talk about shooting, Shaun. Like, I think you've been an underrated shooter over your career. And I can testify to this big time because my first game as a head coach in the WEC was a trial game against the Sydney Kings. And in our scout, I told our guys, look, anytime Shaun Bruce gets the ball, go under the screen. Don't worry about it. Pulling up percentages, doing this, that, and the other. And there was a time in that game, I don't know if you remember, I'm going to have to try and find the film, but you hit your third or fourth or fifth three, and you turned over to me and looked at the bench and you put your arms up like this. And I just laughed because it was a coaching decision, part of the scout. And I certainly tip my hat to you on how well you do shoot the ball. Let's talk about shooting technique. So you know now, right? And for the astute guys out there, this is a breakdown in rotations, all right? And I'm not going to apologize for stepping up the education piece here, but you see Casper, what a great player Casper was. So he rejects the screen, goes to the bucket. Scotty Hobson rotates. Now it's on this guy, McDaniels, to rotate. And I'll call out Shea Hilly here because he needs to rotate to you, but he gives up on the play. But you know you're getting open, right? What's your mentality? Can you give an insight into the shooters out there? What's your mentality as a shooter when the lights are on?
Yeah, well, like, to go back on what you said originally, I think I was probably my worst enemy to begin my career, of probably turning down looks and being hesitant. So I think getting that scout from coaches, I think in a way I asked for it. Coming in later in my career, and when I got to the Kings, I think was the first time that coaches really trusted. I felt the trust from my coaches, and they really gave me a lot of confidence just to step into shots like this, but when guys go under as well, just to keep them honest. So I think a lot of shooting just comes down to your own belief and showing that. And I think when this gets reversed to me, you just got to believe in yourself and trust the work you put in and step in with confidence, because you obviously won't get a better look than that. You're wide open. You've had ball reversal. Ball's been in the paint. It's been kicked out. Extra pass. Like, there's no better offense than that. So you've got to be ready to knock that down, whether you've made 10 or missed 10. You just got to know it's the right shot and believe in the work you put in.
All right, let's break it down. And that's a good point. Confidence comes through preparation. And you've done the work, so let it fly. I believe that 100%. But for everyone out there, and, fundamentally, when we look at shooting, feet shoulder widths apart, all right, you got great engagement here through your toes, all right? This is called the shooting pocket. So we're at 90 degrees. If I can freeze it quickly right there, that preparation that Shaun got into before his jump shot allows for this sort of mechanics when he leaves the floor. His body stance is perfectly vertical. I just freezed it a little bit too quick, Ben, but it was at 90 degrees. This is the shooting shelf. If I was to walk out on the floor right now and look at his wrist, there'd be a nice crinkle there in his wrist, eyes on the rim, and the mentality of a shooter that this is just money, right? And then always leave your hand up here until you see a result, okay? And that's good form shooting. Can I ask you, do you do a lot of form shooting in practice before you warm up?
A ton. And I think it started as a junior, and my coaches would always, I'm sure it's still happening now, it's just start your practice with 10 or 15 minutes of form one-hand shooting. And that's something that I've carried on since I think I was about under 12s through to now as a pro at 30 years of age.
If you guys aren't out there doing form shooting before practice, get onto it and do it. All right. Middle pick and roll. Okay, this is for more you elite guys here. So this is a middle pick and roll, but this is a screen and then a rescreen. All right. The reason we use a rescreen at times is what we want to try and do is get the defender lower. Okay. So anyone out there, if you're sick of people guarding you and pressuring you up the floor all the time, work with your bigs and get them to screen and then rescreen. Right there. So now we got him. So what we're doing now is we're engaging this defender. And again, you mentioned before, Shaun, you got great players around you.
Definitely, yeah. And at this point, like if you're watching Shay again, like he's out there denying Casper, he's getting a lot of attention. I think once you get a rescreen, you're going to be in an area where you feel comfortable shooting, whether you got a mid-range shot or a 3-ball, it's going to be lower on the floor. So once I get a rescreen, I'm definitely feeling like it's more of an opportunity for me to score, because I know guarding guys, if you get hit by one screen, then another, like it's tough to guard. So yeah, that's my thought process there. Obviously got another opportunity to give Jarrell a pocket pass as well, but the point of I am on the floor, I'm feeling comfortable as well.
And, mate, that's a great point because, we all get taught, set them up, wait for the screen, come off the screen, get separation. But I think the real thing that guards miss out on at times is they don't have that thought process to score and think score. So that's a great point. All right, I think there's another catch and shoot opportunity. Now, I'm not really going to talk about you so much here. What I want to talk about is you bigs and all you players out there, how important it is to work with both left and right hands. Because I see a lot of juniors who can't pass with their left hand. So you see Jarrell here, he gets caught in a crowd. Shaun again moves into that window. But a naturally right-handed player needs to be able to pass with his left, all right? And that sets up that play. You look at the score here, all right? I want to bring you all to your attention the score. This is a 3-ball that puts the Kings up by 11. He's pretty happy with himself. It's a nice Jimmy. Brucey in the game. You're now down 6. So from the end of the third to the start, or midway through the fourth, you guys lost the lead. Can you give everyone watching a little insight into momentum and, okay, we're playing well and then sometimes things don't go our way for whatever reason. We find ourselves down. What's the mentality from a player like yourself who's a great NBL player to sort of forge through those periods in a game when you're not winning?
Yeah, I think like from memory, this game had tons of different runs. Like we were down at halftime, obviously just showed we got up by 11. And here we are again down by 6. But I think the key to it is the puzzle that you solve early in the game isn't going to be the same puzzle that you're working through at the end. And there's going to be different stuff come up. So at this point of the game, I remember it, I think Jarrell, he's either fouled out or he's got 4 fouls. He's in foul trouble. I know he ends up getting fouled out, but there was a rut we came into is because, yeah, we're without our leading scorer. So we had to figure things out. Melbourne go on a run. Like you can see how they're guarding Casper in this possession. Like they're giving him a lot of attention, and it just, we needed a spark from somewhere else. I'd already started to give it a little bit. But yeah, we needed to find another way to score, and we had a dry spot here because we were just trying to figure out the puzzle and how we're going to attack them because, yeah, they obviously showed us something early in the game. What we're seeing now is very different, and that's something as a guard, but as a team, you've always got to be figuring out on the fly is what are they doing? What can we do next to capitalize on that?
What a great point you make, and forgive me if I write that down on my whiteboard here, but the puzzle that you start with at the start of the game is not the same as the puzzle in the middle or the end of the game. And that's just a great point, not only for you players to realise that, but for coaches as well. What I want to highlight here is you've heard your coaches out, you in all your fundamental sessions out there saying you got to fake a pass to make a pass, right? So this is pretty subtle, right? You're not going to see this overly quickly, but this is subtle where you watch Jock Landale. So he makes him bite. So Shaun right here, just before that, I need to try and get the... Right here is where he lifts his eyes. And if you watch Landale's arms, they lift. So fake a pass and to make a pass just by his hip. Like, it seems easy, but that's why we do it. And that's why your coaches tell you to do it. That's a great feed. Big play in the game. Let off. No. All right, for you guys watching out there and girls, we do this every day. Transition again in that outside third. Crossover through the legs. So through the legs. And then now what we're doing is we're going to try and get downhill. And now what we're seeing here, this is really important, right? Is I want to take this, this is a subtle thing. Right here, Shaun is not watching his own player. He's watching Jock Landale. So we call this read the defense. Am I right, Shaun?
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously throughout the third quarter, I start to hit some shots, had some catch and shoots, got some easier ones, I guess. And it starts with like Mitch McCarron has to pick me up a little bit higher now, creates a drive. And then, yeah, I'm going to get more attention. Like the first play, Jock's going to try to come across. That's his default, is to protect the rim. And luckily I got a great shooter out there in Tommy, and he steps into a couple here.
And for you guys out there, the deep analysis we go through is I can see his eyes right here watching the defense. So that's just a great play, and that's a big time shot. We'll try and speed this, get through this. We've got about 8 minutes because we want to get some question time. So I'll let these play. Again, playing out of the corner, back in your own ability. Talk to me about this play.
Yeah, so same again. I think I'm just feeling the defense, and obviously again we've got the young fella that's probably not meant to come in and help, but I feel he's come in. I know Tommy's out there who's a great shooter. I've just got to get it in that direction, and it's probably not a pass that you practice too much, but just having a feel and knowing someone's going to be there, sometimes you just got to find a way to get it over there. And that's what happens here.
Great play and great court awareness. So all you guards out there know where everyone is. And you're exactly right. In our coaching too, help comes from 2 passes away. So this is not his help. But in saying that, you still got to execute that and manufacture something. And look at the score. Huge play.
Good shot.
All right, just quickly, I want to touch on this, on how you can be a teammate. All right, so everyone just thinks the guys out on the floor are the ones involved in the game. I want you to watch the bench here, all right? You know, these guys right here, they're invested in every play. Watch Xavier, watch Gus, watch how this transpires. Wouldn't call it great sportsmanship, say, but what I will say is that's so invested in your team and what the common goal is. That's what makes great teams. Oh, this one's just, come on. All right.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I hope that didn't lag for anyone. But yeah, obviously at this point, it's the second half. I've had some good looks now and feeling good about myself. And I guess this comes back to your point of like guys going under me or wanting me to shoot 3-point shots, I guess, and not let me get downhill. So coming into a transition on ball, this is something I've practiced 1,000 times. Obviously practice a lot knowing that teams are going to do this, go under on balls or meet me on the other side. So I saw Scotty do it. I was feeling good. I knew time and score, maybe not a great shot, but I think if you step into it and believe in yourself, it's always a good shot. And that's what I had here. And it was really just something that, practiced it a lot. Where I shot it from, that's something that probably come into my game more recently. And we do a lot of work from like a 4-point line. It's an imaginary line on the court that's outside the 3, and that's what helps our spacing a little bit more. But yeah,
For me,
a shot that I probably take 100 times throughout the week just to be ready. And
for me, and that's a great point, because for me, I can pull up all your clips of your shooting, whether it's a foul line here or out here. The technique stays the same, right? So this is right here, and for all you guys out there and girls, form shooting right here, because the form hasn't changed, not one bit, right through this. And you know, people ask, pressure is a privilege, right? So you get the point of this game where you get this opportunity to do it. That's an absolute privilege, and your mindset, the growth mindset in which you had to take this shot is just, that's why we play the game, right? That's why we do it. All right, last clip. What I want you guys to do here, I won't talk about too much. I want you to watch Geordie Hunter, because again, I want to hone in on how important it is to be a teammate. Look at this guy. He wasn't even involved in the play, had nothing to do with the play. Shaun makes the shot, puts them up by 2, and I was at this game, so that was pretty much the dagger that they needed. But be a great teammate, yeah? Like right here, it was like he made the shot himself, and that's what it's all about. So within our culture of our teams, we celebrate this. We want to talk about this, and we want to highlight this. So props to you, Geordie, if you're out there, probably not listening, but great. You know, that's what it's all about for me. That's why we do team sports. So what I'm going to do now, we've got 5 minutes to go. Geez, we don't even have 5. I'm going to throw this open for questions.
5 or 10, it's fine, man.
I'm good too. Sorry, I took a little bit long. I'm going to unshare now, and I'm going to throw this open for questions.
All right. Thank you so much, guys. It's great to hear the scouting and the understanding of your opposition, Shaun. That's something that young athletes don't recognize who they're coming up against a lot. So understand who you're playing against, know their weaknesses, and attack them. Great explanation on how teammates are so crucial to basketball and any sport. So that goes into my first question. Shaun, who is your favorite teammate?
Oh man, this is tough because I've got so many of them. Yeah, like I think what the Kings have done a great job of is really recruiting great people and great teammates. And that's something that's a part of our culture at the Kings now, is we want to first and foremost have great people involved. But one teammate I've really enjoyed playing with the last 2 years is Casper Ware. He's a guy that you just know what you're going to get from him night in, night out. And that's the competition and the compete that he brings every night is just second to none. And as a teammate, I really respect that. Something that I try to pride myself on. And yeah, it's been a pleasure to play with him. Unfortunately, he's moved on and he's got a job elsewhere, but he was a great teammate and what he brought on the floor.
Awesome. Over to you, Matt.
Yeah, mate.
How long do you prep with scouts before a game?
Oh, wow. So typically to dissect a game, if you want to do it properly, it's about 6 hours in the game. Because for me, and I never had I played 40 games in the NBL, right? So for me, that was a privilege. But compared to a guy like Shaun, you know, when you're dealing with athletes who invest so much time into themselves and their performance, what I really wanted to try and do was make sure that I, you know, dotted all the I's and crossed the T's. So to make sure, and importantly, we got to understand when we watch film. So if your parents are out there and they film you, or your coaches, or you're watching yourself, you know, it's a tool to help yourself get better, right? So it's really important that you take that mindset that video analysis is about making you better. It's not about, you know, pointing out your deficiencies all the time.
Yeah. Shaun, you've had 10 years in the league now. What would you tell yourself if you didn't make a team?
I think the biggest thing is just keep believing. Yeah, you're not, all coaches are different. All coaches are looking for different things. So I think you can sometimes be hard on yourself if you don't make a team. Sometimes it just comes down to the fact they don't necessarily need your skill set or need a player of your type to complement the others. And that, I guess, my belief in myself, and I had a moment in my career, Flinn touched on it a little bit. I didn't have a job in the NBL, but I believed at some time and at some point I'm going to get another opportunity. So just to keep working, and yeah, believe in what you're doing, because yeah, there's a lot of different ways you can skin a cat in basketball, and everyone's skill set suits a different coach or a different team.
Yeah. So, Shaun, are you excited to play with young New South Wales Indigenous player Bawali Bales?
I am. Did that come from Bawali? Is he in the chat?
Just come through. Throwing it
Yeah,
out there, buddy.
I'm definitely excited for Bawali and to play with him, and for him to be in the position that he's in at 18, 19 years old is really exciting. And obviously he's a New South Wales Metro junior. Yeah, and just he's an exciting kid. I think he's got a lot to learn, and the best thing about Bawali is he's open ears and he's a sponge. So for me, that's been around a little bit now, a lot of my role is to be a mentor to him and to help him on his journey. But yeah, that job's made really easy with the attitude that Bawali has every day and wanting to learn and get better.
Yeah, awesome. How many hours a week do you train, Shaun?
Yeah, so on regularly during the season, I think we do maybe 3 or 4 hours a day in the morning as a team, but then obviously your training extends further to that, to stretching you do at home, things like that. So you're putting in around 5 to 6 hours a day, probably like parents are doing at jobs. I know some work a lot longer than we do, which yeah, got to give credit to those guys, but it's a full-time job for us. So it's 5 to 6 hours throughout the day that you're putting time into your body.
Yep. What do you eat before a game, mate?
Yeah, I've been a big pasta eater. Mum, from a kid, that was the recipe to eat the night before a game. A lot of carbs. You obviously get your protein as well, which is really important. But yeah, pasta's a go-to.
Yeah. I don't know if this is your brother in the chat, but who is the better shooter out of the Bruce brothers?
Verdict's still out, like Flinn said. I think I'm a work in progress. Aaron was obviously a great player, shot the ball very well. I think we're a little different in the way we play. He's probably a bit more score first than I am, but yeah, I've still got a couple more years hopefully to take that one.
Both had amazing careers so far. Flinny, over to you. What would you say to aspiring young athletes?
Oh, be yourself. Definitely work hard and listen to all the coaches you have. That's really important. Be a good student of the game. So, if you love it, really, the more just try and do it as much as you can. That's what I did as a kid. Like, the more you do something, the better you get. And the better you get at something, the more you're going to love it. And then the more you love something, the more you're going to do it, right? So it goes in that cycle. So I would just encourage everyone to, really, just have that joy for the game and, do it with your friends. I do it every day. I still do it. I got a hoop out the front. I still go and shoot around every day out the front just because I love it. So I'd encourage everyone just to immerse themselves and like Brucey said before, really enjoy your teammates. The great thing about our sport that there's that real social connection, right? So particularly in the times we're in now, so that's really important. So listen and learn, and don't get too down. Like Brucey said, I've been cut from more teams than I made. So I was don't get disheartened if you just keep going. And there are so many pathways through our great sport, and that's testament to the amount of people that's logged in today. So, and also thank you to you guys, Basketball New South Wales, for putting this on, because you guys have done a great job with this. So, thank you. Hats off to you.
Let's go with the last one. Shaun, did you always have a stadium to shoot in as a junior, or did you have to shoot in your backyard?
Yeah, great question. I was really lucky. My dad coached at my local association, so I'm not going to lie, I had access to that. But how much time he gave to me, and don't get me wrong, it was a lot, but it was never enough. So I had my court at home as well. Not a court, I had some grass and I had a hoop. So I had to dribble around on grass, which wasn't always fun. It was uneven, but I had both. So I had the beauty of having access to an indoor court because my family was involved in the association. But yeah, that was never enough. Like Flinn, I was always out in the backyard shooting and chasing the ball around and annoying the neighbours with it going over the fence.
Yep. And making lots of swishes so you didn't have to rebound as much. Okay.
Yeah, yep.
Thanks, guys. Thank you so much for jumping in and helping us out. On behalf of Basketball New South Wales, I'd like to thank you, Matt, Flinn, and Shaun Bruce, for coming in today.